Frank Demore here with the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. Just like to invite you, if you found my YouTube channel, please go to my prophecy site where you'll see other articles and other information that I posted besides the YouTube videos. You can get there by BibleProphecyMan.com. And of course, once you're there, which I always give this information, just scroll down and you'll see a link right here. There's October 28th. This is the link that you can click to download my book for free. And I'm sure that you'll be blessed seeing the words of the Lord coming to pass as we see all the events that the Lord prophesied coming to pass. And this is actually a book written like a lawyer would write a book to show you the evidence, so that you as a juror, if you want to take the position of a juror who reads this information, you're going to have to make a determination on essentially where you may be spending the rest of your eternity. Now, if you believe what the Lord showed you, you're going to take action. You're going to start being on the watch. You're going to start fellowshipping with the Lord, reading His Word. But if not, you'll be probably one of those people who will be left behind to face the Antichrist. And this is what I'm trying to avoid in your life. So, now this morning, my first video today for December 12th, I was giving you some information and about let me show you here. This is from my book, and I pointed this out in my first video. This was a fictitious bank run that took place that caused a global depression. And it was hard to see in my first video, so I show you this right now from my book. And you'll see this in my book. It is on page 6. But it says this: on September the 20th, 1982, I read an article written in the U.S. News and World Report in which they cited a section of John Falco's work written in the Wall Street Journal. Mr. Falco wrote a fictional script on how a global world banking bust could happen. The following is one of the plots that Falco gives, which could cause a collapse. On December 1982, a small Hong Kong leading company, Global Vista Finance Company, quietly closes its doors. For months, it had been aggressively plunging most of its $7 million in borrowed money into a Hong Kong real estate market, which is now collapsing. The next day, crowds of depositors begin to form outside the main office of the middle-sized Hong Kong bank, the Grisham Bank Limited. It has enjoyed a tidy business of borrowing money from bigger banks and relending it to higher interest rates to little unregulated firms like the Global Vista. Suddenly, business was no longer tidy. Grisham was discovering that other banks were refusing to lend it any money or any more cash. And this is the U.S. News and World Report. This is where I got this information. Now, I did say that this is a fictitious scenario. And but I pointed out, as I showed you in my first video today, so if you missed it, you want to go back. But a scenario just like this is what kicked off, or helped kick off, the 1931 Depression. Now, I want to go to an article, again, showing you that I gave you some information that the European Union was in trouble. And now Sarkozy, who is the president of France, is showing you that there's going to be a two different section Europe. And in this article that just came out, it says the Eurozone banking system on the edge of collapse. And this is why I've showed you this fictional scenario that I believe that is going to actually someday take place. A scenario like this, it's going to cause a global economy crash that will elevate this Antichrist up, and he will have control of this entire world system, as Jesus pointed out in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17. It says the Eurozone banking system is on the edge of a collapse as major lenders begin to run out of assets that they need to keep vital funding lines open. They scroll down here. It says senior analysts and traders warned of impending bank failures as a summit intended to solve the European crisis failed to deliver a solution that eased concerns over bank funding. The European Central Bank admitted that it held meeting about providing emergency funds to the region's struggling banks. However, city figures said a collateral crunch was looming. If anyone thinks things are getting better, then they simply don't understand how severe the problems are. I think a major bank could fail within weeks. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, and I'm just showing you what the experts in the financial districts in Europe are talking about, and they think that there's going to be a major bank that will fail. Now, my question is this. Will we actually see one of these fictitious scenarios that I pointed out in my book take place? I think that, again, is a strong possibility of this happening. Now, I've said this 100 times before, but I'm going to say it one more time because I think it's important. If the Lord told us that one man will have the ability, he's going to be able to control the markets, the worldwide markets, something major would have to happen in order for him to have that. And I'm showing you the possibilities that what may bring down not only one bank, but it may end up bringing the rest of the world market down. The United States is teetering, as you know, and so is the rest of the world. So all it's going to have to happen is for one major bank to collapse. And we're seeing, as we're watching the news here, we're seeing, I believe, handwriting on the wall. And all they've done this past weekend when the EU members got together was put a Band-Aid on a bad situation. They didn't even stitch it. They just put the Band-Aid on it. So let us keep our eyes watching on what's going on in the European Union. And the reason why I'm watching what is going on is primarily because they are definitely the western leg of the old Roman Empire. And we know that the old Roman Empire was to revive. We know this from Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7. That empire is already here, and we see all the rest of the prophecies about what's going to happen to this last empire, the 10 toes, if you will, that were prophesied about. And since we're seeing all of these things run parallel to what we'll see in coming from the European Union, that means it's very important. Let's watch to see what happens, because the Lord has given us warnings ahead of time, and I'm praying that this information will encourage you to read more out of the Word of the Lord.